back in air world.
Back in what?
The air, the AC.
Oh,
the church.
okay.
It's
Cool.
good. AC is good. It was like a condensation. So the last issue we have was like a little condensation issue.
Okay.
And I told them, if anything starts leaking, just leave them on because I'm not about to die today. I'm going to just preach. But I've got a scripture that needs to be added to the Bible. Okay. And it is that on the 8th day, God created after church naps.
Listen, that was one of the greatest things he ever created.
Brother, I mean, there's nothing like it.
It is just, and I mean, it's almost like everybody know, like my wife, kids, nobody bothers me.
Everybody knows but Shamika that I need to take an after church nap. She came in there talking about cutting some dead branches off a tree or something. I'm like, what are we doing here? And now I'm about to get in trouble, for like not wanting to talk about this. I mean, I'm straight in the bed under the covers, and you came in here to talk about a tree.
When I woke up, my wife was like, "How was your nap?" I'm like, it was heavenly.
Tell your wife to call my wife and have a conversation.
Heavenly. It was
But wonderful. I'm telling you, nothing. What's happening? Welcome to Religiously Incorrect.
What's
we hope you have woken up from your after church nap.
Yeah. It's
got your chicken and green beans.
We're a little bit late today. Just a little bit.
I did have a couple places I needed to be, and I was flying on the road, and I actually did slow down because it is still technically the holiday weekend, which I think we need to have a little bit of protest, maybe government policy change. Because how is it going to be the holiday weekend when the 4th of July was on a Thursday? How are you? I just feel like that's exploitation on the part of law enforcement to try to drag Thursday. Because go tell employers that Thursday is the weekend. You know what I'm saying? Because that's ridiculous.
It is.
I slowed down and took my time because I recognize, just like at car dealerships at the end of the month when they'll do anything to get a sale, I figure on a Sunday afternoon.
I didn't even think, because I ride all the way down the street.
You always.
So I'm like, why is all these cops out
there?
today?
Man, holiday weekend.
Think about it.
So you think about Sunday night after 5, 6 o'clock. They're like, bruh, fines aren't doubled anymore after midnight. We got to get these sales in.
Gotta go.
I made a couple good runs. I had to stop over my boys, Pastor Kent Barnes Jr.
Congratulations, my friend.
Elevated to district elder in the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World. Very proud of him. My friend and my brother got to see a lot of the crew over there. The young pastor's crew. That's correct. We were being straight in jail. Then I had to go up and opening night of the Northern Ohio Baptist District Association.
Yes, sir. The
Great
Northern.
Had the opening night service. My dear friend, Pastor Raymond Austin, the Tabernacle Baptist Church from the Tab, he opened up. I didn't realize he was that tall.
Man, that's a big boy.
Bruh.
That is a big boy.
I'm attacking him. I'm like, bro, I knew he was a little taller than me. This cat dunks.
That is a big boy.
With ease.
And he steps.
Oh, he's the capper, right?
He's a capper.
I better get it right because it'll kill me if I say the wrong one.
He's a stepper.
I'm like, this dude, who's that one dude that plays for the Pelicans, the big cat? No, not Wembley. Not the guy for the Spurs.
I don't know.
The one, the big dude. Man, I forget his name. No, he didn't play for the Pelicans. Yeah. I don't know what they're calling him.
Oh, I think I know. You talking about the... I can see it. I can see his face. I know.
They're afraid he'll be overweight every season, basically.
Yeah.
Zion
Williamson. Yeah, listen. I was like, Reverend Zion Williamson is up here to preach today.
Sure.
And, but it was a great time. He preached well. He did great. He represented this Canton Warren Youngstown South District, of which I'm the proud moderator. He represented us well. And then I jumped on the road and just came on back, man, and was ready to come back and didn't want to miss Religiously Incorrect.
Yeah, that's some dedication for you.
I'm dedicated.
We love it.
So since this is Sunday night service, this is technically my 4th service of the day. This is my 4th service of the day. So y'all make sure y'all like and share, tag somebody and tell them, welcome to Religiously Incorrect.
Brought to you by the African American Community Fund. The African American Community Fund, look at you looking at me. The African American
I want to see you
Community
read
Fund,
it.
established in 2020 at the Foundations for Appalachian Ohio, supports Black-led and Black-serving organizations throughout the 32 counties of Appalachian, Ohio to elevate the quality of life and address disparities in African American communities. Please check them out at www.appalachianohio.org or call them at 740-753-1111. My eyes are working. I can see clearly now.
Okay.
The rain is gone.
Okay. I think we're back on because, nephew, I think we're back on. He said the mics went out for a second, but I think we're okay. Are we all right?
Can y'all hear us? Somebody say, what's up? Somebody say, hello.
Do you even have it plugged in to the thing?
Somebody say, praise the Lord.
Let's try it. Are we good? We're not good.
I think so. No. It's on mics. My roadie went out.
Our roadie went out. Oh,
I'm
man.
about to dance for Jesus while
man.
y'all waiting.
That's crazy. Huh. Well, Mike, play the intro. Play the intro so we can see if we can get this going. This is probably one of them trouble nights. And I'm gonna run over and see if I can help you. Okay.
All right.
I think we're back. I think we're back. It might have been that. It might have been that. Here we go. We're back, y'all.
We are having a little technical difficulties.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you come in late to the show.
As they say in the preaching world, in the preaching arena, the hour is far spent.
I think we're performing like Joe Biden did when he debated Trump last week. That's about what happened. All right. Yeah, we lost the irate mix. All right, so we're back. We're back. All right, so first things first.
He said you got a longer intro.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do. They got a whole like Grammy nominated production now. Shout out to my man Brandon Giovanni. All right, hilarious. So the word of the day, first things first, is Ronnie James and LeBron James. A lot of controversy in the basketball world. First it was Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Now it's LeBron James got his own son, let's just call it what it is, drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers.
Nepotism.
It's nepotism? Is that what it is?
That's what it is. That's it. I mean, it's nepotism that I don't even mind. I mean, I think I would do the same thing. I'm quite sure.
Do you think it's right or wrong to do?
I'll say this. I think it's wrong, but I also don't disagree with it. I don't know how else
to put it. Did you say this to me before we were talking about it?
I think we talked about it.
We talked about it. You said it's wrong, but I do it.
I do it. I think the NBA owes LeBron. I think the LA Lakers owe LeBron. The NBA owes LeBron basically because he's.
I don't care if they owe him or not.
They do, but they do.
But I don't care if they do or not. If a guy has enough clout to get his son a great gig, God bless him.
My only problem with it is that somebody didn't get a gig because he got a gig.
Are we sure though?
Yeah, somebody
there
lost
was some
out.
dude that had worse.
Yes, somebody had worse stats.
There was a guy that had worse stats than him that went like 20 spots before him.
You're absolutely right. Somebody had worse stats. But once again, what did he do? G League, he played in the Summer League yesterday.
You know what?
He played in the Summer League yesterday. What did he get? I think he got like
watching.
4 points. He got like 4 points.
Don't care.
A half a rebound.
Don't care.
He got 4 points, a half a rebound, and he gave everybody else Gatorade.
Don't care. His first game in the G League. I don't care.
But if you already know that everybody's talking about you, that this whole thing that your dad got your position, blah. I mean, show us something. Prove to me that you are not.
He might though. You got to give him time.
You don't need.
Okay, let's just say this: is he the first bust? If he were to be a bust,
oh, absolutely not.
As many people as get drafted in every type of league at first, second, and third pick, and they turn out to be total garbage. Mm-hmm. I mean, big country Bryant Reeves.
Oh,
Christian Laettner.
The list goes on and on.
LaMarcus Russell.
Yeah.
Jamarcus, LaMarcus. It doesn't matter. They're the same person. It doesn't matter.
The list goes on.
The world is full of people who are bust. So you know what? Who cares? Thank you. There's nepotism in regular jobs. Okay. And I'm not mad at that. I'm not either. Scott said it's wrong. It's not wrong for LeBron to do it. It's wrong for the Lakers to do it. Okay. Here's my problem with you. LeBron is the Lakers. There is no difference. They might as well call it Los Angeles.
No, he's not.
They should be called the Los Angeles LeBrons.
That's the first problem there.
They should change the name.
LeBron is still Cavaliers. Kobe is still the Lakers.
No.
Kobe is still. Who got a statue outside the arena?
Who got
Kobe
them
Bryant
to draft his own son and then make a dude that's never coached a high school game, let alone an NBA game, ever, in J.J. Redick as his coach so that he can basically run the team? It's the Los Angeles LeBrons. Yeah. That's what it is. It's the Los Angeles LeBrons.
The J.J. Redick thing is definitely...
And you're going to mess around and you're going to tear that Kobe statue down and have a statue of himself.
Well, here's the thing, though. I just feel like if he doesn't do any better, and I hope he does. I really do.
How long does he get?
That's what I'm saying. Because LeBron can't play too much longer. LeBron might got 2 more good years in him.
But I heard he was trying to get the other son in too.
Well, he probably will.
It only takes 2 more years.
That's the
young
baller.
one's the baller.
Yeah, he's the baller.
Okay, but first of all, nepotism is just a fact of life. It is.
It is.
Somebody made a joke, several jokes. Now I'll tell a few of them. One of them was, people are on Facebook complaining about LeBron James and know good and well that your daddy got you in a GM. On a family referral. That's the only reason you got in. And like me, you're probably using your dad's GM discount on the car you drive. So, I mean, that's nepotism. Okay, let's go a little bit further. There are all types of CEOs, including in the NBA and NFL, where they have basically just passed down teams to their children that didn't know how to run them, don't know anything about, didn't put in the work. There are coaches that have given their sons a leg up. Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan. Okay? There are some preachers that have passed their churches down to their sons. And some of these sons can't preach to save a flea.
I'm gearing Christian up right now.
Some of these sons cannot preach to save a flea. And thank you very much. It is actually biblical, Scott. Come on with the Bible study. Actually, I talked about this in Bible study. The ultimate form of nepotism was the Levitical priesthood. You were supposed to pass down the priesthood
all that
to your
sounds
son.
real good. The point of the matter is the cat was garbage. The cat was garbage.
Was he garbage?
Yes, he was garbage.
Dude had a heart attack and came back from it. Remember that?
Yes, he did. But he's still garbage.
He's not. How you gonna call a young man garbage?
Garbage.
The Wayne's brothers did it. Ain't nobody mad at them.
Play him one-on-one.
Who?
The Wayans brothers?
Yeah, all them is all.
Who was gonna argue with them? It was like 30 of them. They just jump you. The Wayans brothers, they just jump you.
The sisters,
the Wayans and the Winans,
uncles,
the Wayans and the Winans. You say anything about them, you just get knocked out. I mean, this is the life that we're stuck in, though. And the way I say it is, let the black man put his son on.
Hey, I have no problem with it.
We finally got some power, and we finally got the ability to do these types of things for our children in ways that we probably couldn't have at these spaces and these levels. Let it be, let it go.
I'm almost in agreement, though, with, I think it was Scott.
Okay.
That said, it wasn't wrong for LeBron. It was wrong if he would have went anywhere else but LA, I think it would have looked better. But it
wouldn't have made sense, and it never would have happened.
I don't think nobody else would have picked him.
Okay. Who's that one dude? Ante Capocco or whatever? Giannis?
Yeah.
Ante Capocco or whatever.
I know.
His brother plays with him and he's terrible. They got a whole highlight reel of how terrible he is.
I'm just saying, I think if any other team would have picked Bronny,
okay,
it'd have been a cool.
I'll let you know when his nepotism is when Magic Johnson gets his son drafted.
What? No.
If Magic
in the WNBA play next to Angel Reese. We're about to be canceled.
We're about to be canceled. What is equality? It's Me Too movement.
We are canceled.
If Magic gets his son drafted, then it's nepotism.
If you don't know why we're laughing,
yes, they do.
You just don't know.
They do. They do. Mother Marks know why we're laughing. And he's gonna get drafted into the TWNBA.
I'm done.
My daughter better not be watching this because she's gonna cancel me. My woke daughter better not be watching this. All right, y'all, God. We got to move along. Since we started late, y'all know what time it is. It's time for that meme of the week.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Welcome to Religiously Incorrect, ladies and gentlemen.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Thank you. Send us your memes of the week.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
We are. These are all jokes. We are just playing.
All right, so I have another video meme of the week. And last week we talked about our dear president, our dear brother president, Uncle Joe, Joseph R. Biden. We talked about his poor performance at the debate. And I don't know if you saw this interview Friday night, Jeff, but it wasn't. He was more lively, but he sounded like an old man in denial.
Yeah.
So we're gonna pick on Joe a little bit more. This video, this meme, is what happens.
Oh, not D-Wade.
He probably wants to be.
Oh,
all right,
God.
All right. This is what happens when you invite your white friends to come in and enjoy your black church. This is how they come in looking. Come on, Uncle Joe. He's lost. He has no what's going on. That's the same look he had in the debate. So Kirk is singing. Kamala's, but you're right. Kamala's getting it. I mean, she's an AKA.
Yeah.
Right? But why do they make people do this? Because he's not the first. Why do they make people do this? Because he's not the first. For probably since like the George Bush years, no, Clinton years, they have like these gospel nights at the White House, and they make the president sit through this stuff and pretend like they're interested in a bunch of greasy, grimy gospel stars that are hollering and carrying on. Shirley Caesar's kicking her shoes off, and, you know, everybody's speaking in tongues and running around.
She's
pretty close to it. Her husband's starting to get to her. But why do we even do this? Because I feel like it's so performative.
It definitely is.
It's performative.
And I mean, I would be honest. Just sit down. You ain't feeling this. Just sit down and relax.
But you know, cameras are on you. That's the look. They pass off and play for the third time, and you have to touch the table. Like, they know all the cameras are going to be on you, and they're going to watch how you are reacting to this completely different atmosphere than you're used to. And you're supposed to pretend like you're into this. You don't know what's going on. And by the way, Joe Biden being 150 years old, when they say, hey, Kirk Franklin's about to sing a gospel song, and he hears a Kirk Franklin gospel song that sounds nothing like a gospel song that he's probably used to.
Right.
He's probably used to doggone Thomas Dorsey, slaves singing in the cotton field.
Well, let's bring this up to date.
Right.
Have you ever been at a church where you know the camera's on you? You're at somebody else's church, and the choir gets up, and they look like they about to jam, and it's like,
oh yeah,
I mean, you ain't got it.
Well, it depends on if the camera's on me or not. Like, I got a lot of comments about a recent funeral I was at. My boys was getting on me about my looks, my face, my facial expressions, and I'm good for that. It's hard to hide it. Now, being a politician, which I am, and having to sometimes sit through things that are not a part of our culture,
right.
I have the same glazed over look that he does. I'm like, oh, that's a nice clogging you're doing there, son.
Every time a mime come on.
That's my look when a mime flag comes out. They had another video of him just like that at Raphael Warnock's church, Dr. King's former church. Again, mimers, flaggers, praise team, all of that stuff. And he's just staring off into space. And so, again, why do we insist on, because I know it's supposed to be some
to get the black
of,
vote.
I get it. But why are we even, you know what? Go to a couple people's church like he did today. I think he went to Lewis Felton's church, Bishop Lewis Felton's church, Mount Airy Church of God in Christ today. Just go to somebody's church. Don't even have these gospel brunches and all this junk at the White House. I mean, what do they got? I mean, what are they doing, like Irish River dance the next day, and he got to sit there and smile at that?
More likely, they gonna make their rounds.
That needs to go. I think all the performative culture stuff needs to go, because they're just sitting there. It's so condescending. It feels like it just feels like patronizing, And let's be clear here. Joe can't make it through a real black church service. He can't make it through one. I bet you when he came, they said, Leo, Uncle Joe's got 45 minutes tops, bro. Want him in a sermon and let him speak, and he's got to go. Because there's no way in the world he'll make it through altar prayer. We start altar prayer, you start leaning on that altar, he'd be snoring. But yeah, I mean, so Kamala's into it.
She into it.
And then you have
who was that, the bodyguard?
The black advisor trying to, isn't this great, Joe?
He was on the 1 and the 3.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Mark. In all fairness, that's how we look at we have to go to Catholic school. I never had to go to Catholic school, but we've all been told people have to go to mass.
I went to a Catholic mass, and it was, well, you know what? When Christian was at JFK, we would have to go to a couple of them. They wasn't that bad, but there was a couple parts where I definitely glazed off.
I went to a Catholic mass, took a tambourine with me to see how they would react.
See, I just looked.
It didn't work out. I wouldn't recommend it. Scott says, keep him hidden. No look is better than a bad look. Joe's not going to be hidden. Joe is everybody's defiant grandpa. He will not be denied. He won't be.
Well, according to those other 4 representatives, the Democratic,
it's growing.
It's growing.
The sentiment is growing.
And please stay in touch with Religiously Incorrect. We're about to start breaking some of this stuff down.
Oh yeah, we're gonna break this down on the election side, all of that. And is Uncle Joe really different than an old pastor? I can still pull it, Doc. I still got the anointing on my life.
Right.
Listen.
If I listen to one of them old tapes, you said the same thing in 1982.
You were saying the same thing in 1982. Good to see you, Overseer Bowman. God bless you. I apologize for abandoning you at the service. I had to go, and I wasn't about to wait on you. I was like Harriet Tubman. Either you coming or you ain't. I told Pastor Kevin, either you coming or you ain't. I ain't never lost a passenger. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to Religiously Incorrect. We are brought to you by the Phillips family of businesses. Phillips Care Lawn Services, been in business for well over a decade, more like 15 years now. Check them out for all of your outdoor lawn care, clean up needs. 330-219-7916. Lawn care starting at $30. I'm sure it's much more than that. Inflation is what it is. And you know who to call. Call Fernando or check out Phillips Care on Facebook at Phillips Care LLC. While you're at it, check out Phillips Care Cleaning Service. If it has to do with your home or business, they can take care of it. Cleaning, carpet cleaning, floor cleaning, move in, move out, renovations, restorations. If it needs to be done, they probably can do it. Make sure you check out one of our proud sponsors, Phillips Care Cleaning Service, for all of your cleaning needs.
We are also brought to you by Action, the Alliance for Congregational Transformation, influencing our neighborhoods. Listen, we just talked about it a little bit. We are at the forefront of this election that is coming up here in a couple months. We want to be in your face. We want to be out in the community. We will be canvassing starting tomorrow. Well, we've been started, but you're going to see us a lot more prevalent out here in Warren. We're going to do a couple more videos just to try to get you up to date, get you aware of what's going on, what's going to be on the polls, what's going to be on the election. We're really excited about it. So please continue to watch. We're going to do some things here on Religiously Incorrect, as well as some things on the side. Action, the Alliance for Congregational Transformation, influencing our neighborhoods.
And you get that so well, man. You got it down. And we got the new logo up.
And we got the new logo.
We're on it. So today's episode, for the balance of our time, is called Till Divorce Do Us Part.
Till divorce do us part.
It used to be Till Death Do Us Part.
Wow.
But I want to talk to you today, Pastor Jeff, about the changing norms, the changing traditions, and even convictions around divorce and the church.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, just once upon a time, it was such a mark on your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you were almost treated as a pariah if you had gone through a divorce in the church as a Christian. And so Grove said he needs a couple bottles of 5 Hour Energy. He needs a 2-liter 5 Hour Energy. Hey, what's up, Dee Dee? She said, don't take no advice from Grover. But I mean, I'm grateful that the stain and the shame of divorce is softened. But I worry that the normalization of divorce, not just in the church, but in culture in general, but the church supposedly supposed to be separate from the world or different from the world or held to a different value of the world. We know the oft quoted statistic that the divorce rate in the church is mirroring
just as high
as that in the world.
Yes,
so where do we even start with the conversation around divorce in the church now, and when a marriage does not last?
I think, we start with just a simple fact. And, I talked about a little bit today in my sermon that commitment in itself, just the word commitment, has become a curse word. People aren't committed to churches.
You're correct.
They're not committed to ministry. They're not committed to making money.
How else to their own families?
How else can we have a job? I have a job starting $18, $19, $20 an hour, and we can't get people hired because they're more committed to smoking weed than earning a wage. He's already talking. And so what happens is, if you're not committed to ministry, if you're not committed to making money, most people are not committed to marriage. We treat marriage now like a lease with an option to buy.
Listen.
Listen.
Did you just call marriage a lease with an option to buy?
We either gonna keep it or we gonna trade it in for something. We gonna upgrade it for something a little bit more better.
Okay, well, you mentioned that if you won't be committed to those other things, then you won't be committed to a marriage. Mm-hmm. But I would challenge you, do you think it's the other way around? That the breakdown of the ultimate commitment and covenant is what has led to the loosening of everything else.
Absolutely.
Like, as family bonds and communal bonds are broken, so everything else is broken. And I've been reading some articles that actually tap into that, even in the way of what we always, rant and rave about church membership and commitment and all that. It is the idea of communal living and communal commitment being lost in our culture, period. We are so individualistic and selfish, and the world has been molded to help us be so. Did you know that this year is the 50th anniversary of a woman's ability to have a credit card without a man's signature?
Wow, I did not know that.
Prior to 1974, a woman could not have her own credit card in her own name.
Can we bring that back? Can we bring that rule back?
I was waiting on it.
Can we bring that rule back real quick? Listen, I want to talk for a second about with Mark, because me and you talk about this oftentimes.
We talk about premarital
We talk about this all the time, because truth be told, we do it, but more than likely they're gonna do what they want to do anyway.
Okay, yes, and I just told someone the other night. I said the problem with premarital counseling, and I think it can be very impactful when done right.
Absolutely.
And I think it can be very helpful when it is honest and sincere on everybody's part, the minister or the counselor and the persons. But here's what we end up doing. We end up putting on our best faces because premarital counseling is scheduled after the wedding date has been set.
Yep.
So the goal is just to get me to that ceremony.
Yep. And if I say no, are you going to actually do it? If I say I don't think this is going to work out.
It's happened before. Matter of fact, somebody in my family, the preacher said, I'm not marrying you to this person. And they went to another minister. They went to another minister. But and I don't know all the details of it, but that's how it went down. But everybody's under the pressure because dating and courting and fiancéing and all that stuff in general is a best behavior exercise. And you don't get to know the person truly until you are really in there. And then even then, you might have a 5-year shift, a 8-year shift, a 9-year shift, become a different person at 13. I'm not the same person Shamika married in every aspect at 23 years old.
Again, I said, if you are engaged for 8 years, you are not his fiance. You are an enlistment. It's not an engagement. It's an enlistment.
You are enlisted. You're common law.
You are enlisted in the army.
So to Gigi's point, if you're going to do counseling, there needs to be real counseling. And in many cases, by a real counselor, and a whole lot of us pastors are not real counselors.
Absolutely.
We are not. We're not even casual. We're not even sit down at my desk and just tell me about your life. We don't know what to say. We don't know what's going on. I mean, seriously. I mean, most pastors I know, we act like, and people, I don't even want to say act, I do not want to say we act like. The people have treated us and vaulted us and put us on a pillar of knowledge and wisdom. And if somebody sits down and sits in front of your desk and says, yeah, I was molested when I was 5 and blah, 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 and they just go into their life, they go into their sexual history and struggles, they go into their esteem and mental issues, and blank face. Face.
Absolutely.
Now, on the other side, there's the idea that counseling is the answer, but that still doesn't make you committed.
It doesn't.
Even the best of counselors. So we have that issue. We have premarital counselor, and some can push back to the days of, well, I didn't get much counseling. Now, it could be argued in the old school, they got basically no counseling. But there was this social expectation. That's why I brought up the whole credit card thing. Because we live in a world that makes it easier for everyone to live independent of each other, for better or for worse. And I'm sure a lot of people would say for better with the credit card thing, for instance. But a lot of the mechanisms and levers of dependency that made marriage more of a lifelong necessity, because we forget that in the past, marriage was not just a lifelong commitment. It was a lifelong necessity.
Right.
You wouldn't be taken care of if you weren't married.
That's right.
You weren't going to have a livelihood if you weren't married. You weren't going to have status in your community if you weren't married. You couldn't elect an office or become a pastor or get certain. If you walked around, you couldn't even be a teacher and be single too long before folk would ask you questions about what's wrong with him or her.
Absolutely.
So And of course, the ideal of expected heterosexuality and rumors and this, that, and the other, you know, you add all that into this ball. And when you rip all of that away, women can work, get their own credit, build their own lives. Many of them have far more drive and opportunity than we often have. Here we go. Here we go. Put it up. They already saw it. It's too late.
I just turned real quick.
Rome said, save the counseling and get a cookbook. Cookbooks can't help them. Cookbooks can't help them. Okay, but all of that stuff.
Can't make a hot dog.
To his point, traditional roles are blown up. I cook as much as my wife. I clean alongside. I don't want to say as much, but I clean alongside my wife, run the kids around. Hey, we need to have a.
It's just like Grover did.
We need Dee Dee and Grover in here. You know they're lifelong friends. Dee Dee and Grover are lifelong friends. For those that don't know, we need a point counterpoint with Dee Dee and Grover one
said,
show.
Get them made.
Get them made. But when the traditional roles are gone and the traditional restrictions are gone, it makes it easier for divorce to occur. And let's just transfer it over to the church now and Christianity. And when Christianity and the church as we know it has laid aside a lot of what we would call the legalistic, judgmental, traditional aspects that opened up so many other areas of life. It could be as simple as dressing up the church. It could be as simple as having this godlike respect for the preacher. It could be as simple as expecting to worship in a cathedral-looking building. When you start stripping all of that away, sooner or later it's going to impact more significant areas of life. And we let down the guard, but maybe we didn't let down the guard. Maybe so many people were getting divorced, including preachers, that we couldn't judge it the same we used to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't judge it the same when your bishop is divorced. Church mothers, deacons, it was easy when, right or wrong, you could hide a lot of mess and dog out the people whose marriages didn't work.
Right.
But when you have ministers proudly introducing their new first lady.
The new first lady. And how do you treat the new first lady when you really love the old first lady?
Lord have mercy.
How do you respond?
You're the second lady.
Because now you're the second lady.
But what I'm saying, when all those norms, I'm not here to talk about first ladies and remarried pastors. I'm just saying that helps to create a normalization of divorce in the church. Up a little bit, Adriana, did I say your name right? I always mess it up. She said something about selfishness I want to go up to, and I thought that was so important because I used to often say that there it is.
Commitment, and we are
I used to often, and I still say this in counseling, that marriage is a battle every day against one's own selfishness.
Oh, absolutely.
Marriage is a battle against one's own selfishness, self-desire, self-reliance, self-interest, that it is the ultimate version of honoring and preferring another above yourself. It is the ultimate example of commitment and sacrifice on behalf of another. And so,
Pastor Todd, back in the day, these meant something. Back in the day, this ring that we put on our finger meant something, and it meant stay away. It meant, this guy's already taken.
It doesn't mean anything.
This don't mean they gonna try to pull it. Sometimes
Can we take it one step further?
Absolutely.
It don't mean nothing in church. It don't mean nothing in church. You don't have to go out to the street anymore, or a bar, or somewhere you shouldn't be, or be on your job to get approached by somebody, and church is more slick because if you're saved and know how to act saved, you ain't nobody just hollering at you in the parking lot like, I know you got a man, but blah 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 blah. But yeah, you create that extra friendliness.
Absolutely. And I've heard it a million. Just because I ordered don't mean I can't look at the menu. No, you greedy.
No, you greedy.
How about that? You're just greedy.
You're sinning.
You're sinning. No, so let me ask you this. Because this is something I've always took into consideration. I think that far too long or far too often we've added divorce to the end. We love to say God hates divorce. God doesn't like divorce. But we never added him to the beginning.
So we
don't-
say God hates divorce. In other words, the failure of a thing.
failure of the- yeah.
But we don't talk. Well, we do because that's the counseling.
I'm saying, what I'm saying is, sometimes we don't even do the counseling. We don't even. How many people really ask, "Is this supposed to be my wife?" How many people really sat down and asked God, "Is this my helpmeet? Is this my spouse? Is this person?" We marry for hips, lips, and fingertips.
True.
We marry because they look good, because they sound good.
It's been a while since I heard you say that. By the way, I appreciate you bringing that one out.
We marry because they big built, got a bald head or nice hair,
Right.
whatever it is. That's why.
All the things I'm not. Correct. Go on.
That's why we start out, and then when we end up getting divorced, God hates divorce.
Well, we not only do we say God hates divorce, but we start saying that wasn't the one God had for me.
Right. Oh, yes.
And I'm like, well, where was that at 10 years ago?
What was that?
And by the way, this over spirituality of natural circumstances often has given people license to use God as their reason for divorce. Mm-hmm. I know of a preacher who's used to be fairly famous who told his wife, God already showed me my next wife.
Wow.
And nobody put him off their platforms. And I know it was known because if I can read about it on the internet, I'm sure his little pulpit buddies knew about it too.
Well, statistically speaking, when a pastor announces that they're getting divorced, they still retain 70 to 80% of their membership.
Of course they do. They might even gain. He's available. He's available. Don't you remember that scene from the Jackson 5 miniseries when they get mad at Jermaine for getting married?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to destroy the whole group. Don't marry Hazel Gordy. Okay, so let's dive deep into the conversation before we go. Pastor Jeff, you've endured a divorce. You've talked about it before. Mm-hmm. Were you a Christian and attending a church at the time?
Yep.
So take us through that. As much as you want to share, just some of the experiences, maybe the fears, the pressures, what made you, maybe if you felt church pressure or just within yourself, not wanting to go through the shame of it, and then maybe how you felt treated while you were going through it.
Whew, Lord, I'm about to make me cry up in here. It was difficult. It was really difficult because I got married very young. I got married out of high school.
Okay.
I got married, right out of high school. I got married.
To not burn?
No, I didn't get married not to burn.
Because that's what Mark was talking about. Too many of us just...
Yeah, get married not to burn. I got married because my ex-wife was pregnant.
Okay.
And I knew what happened with me and my father, and I did not want him to be a absent dad. I had literally just got saved. And the guy who had introduced me to Jesus was like, man, you might as well get, and I was trying to play this role, you know what I mean?
Right. Trying to be that guy.
Then reality set in. And I'm not, and I will tell, I put it on Facebook. My divorce was my fault.
Okay.
I just did not want to be married anymore. I'm just gonna, I was just like, I don't know why I done this, and I didn't have parents that told me just because she's pregnant, you don't got to get married.
Right.
Just because she's pregnant doesn't mean you need to drop out of college or, put your dreams on hold. I did not, nobody told me I could raise this child without putting a ring on somebody's finger.
But there's an uncertainty to that too, though, because you don't know if you can.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that goes around in marriage, whether it is the sex answer that we talk about, is better to marry than to burn, and some people just want to get married. People get married to simplify life because there's a certainty or an assumed certainty attached to marriage. Here's what marriage will do. It'll make sure you don't go to hell for having sex. It'll make sure you're in the house with your kids. It'll make sure nobody calls you gay. Mm-hmm. And in the church especially, all those things apply in a very big way. And we need to own that we have sometimes entered into marriage for ulterior motives. It will make sure you're looked at as a legitimate minister.
Absolutely. And
so
some people won't hire you as a pastor if you're not married,
or not take you seriously or what have you, if you're not married. And so we have to own individually and collectively as a church that we have created an atmosphere where we treat people as a lesser if they don't meet a certain standard. And so marriage has become a good answer, an easy answer. I should have chose Commo D.
But just to go back to
Yeah.
it for a second, because the second part of the question was how did the church treat you?
Mm-hmm.
And that was what really hurt. Is that you go through this divorce, and people do look at you different.
Mm-hmm.
People do. I was in a running for a church that literally said because I was divorced, I couldn't get that church.
Wow.
So
And half the deacon board was divorced in the church.
right. That's
The whole pulpit committee.
That stigmatism follows you and my hardest thing was that, I had to deal, I had a daughter, when kids become involved and, and you have to, you don't just divorce your wife or spouse, you divorce your children.
I don't think you divorced them. I think you change the dynamic.
It changes
breaches
a lot.
the dynamic of what you can do.
It's just not the same. It's not the same of going in her room every night, giving her a kiss goodnight. Telling it's just not the same.
I'm not qualified to speak on this, to be honest.
Yeah,
you know better than I would.
It's very difficult, and you can say I get call every night and say goodnight, and all that stuff. It is not the same. Divorce hurts. It's painful, and anybody. Well, I can't speak for any myself. It hurt. Even though I felt that what I was doing, I needed to do because I could not love her the way that she needed or wanted to be loved because I wasn't in, that just wasn't where I was at that moment.
Right.
But my daughter should have never had to deal with the fallout of the divorce.
And I appreciate that your respect is towards the family and the dynamic of it. I wonder on a personal level, and I hate to say remove the kids out of it, but just from adult level, do you think, have you experienced, and I'm going to ask if any of you have ever experienced, even if you're not a minister or a pastor, I don't want to say a little embittered, but a little strange to see that what was once something so earth-shattering is now treated so flippant, and you watch other preachers where you were denied an opportunity or you were treated differently. And then let's say in recent years, where you see other individuals go through the exact same thing and they're just blown off and they just carry on like nothing happened.
Right.
Do you think that creates an embittered feeling? And there could be lay members too, where you basically run out the church if you got divorced, and now that person's not even sat down for a few weeks. You know what I mean? There's not even whatever sitting down is anymore. But I'm just saying, to you guys who are watching into could you imagine yourself feeling like, dog, maybe I just got divorced the wrong year. I could have got divorced and had a big old church anyway.
I don't know. Obviously, you're a historian, so maybe you know this. When did it go from, because at least for me now, what I hear is it's no more divorce, it's disillusionment. We're just getting
when women were able to get their own credit cards.
we're getting our mirrors dissolved.
They do a disillusion. Yeah. But it's the same thing. It still shows up in the paper.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean,
were you disillusioned when you said I do? Or what does it mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Jason shared his experience. He said, when I first got divorced, I felt ashamed, lost my identity and who I was. It was almost like I was afraid to go out in public. That's meaningful, man. Thank you for sharing that. And to that point of identity, you are identified as Mr. and Mrs. Absolutely. And we often talk about the female, and it is very true. She has taken on another person's name. She's changed her whole life around in a lot of ways, but the husband does too. And you have this identity as a married person, and you wrap your identity around that marriage. And I think that's for, even in our preaching and teaching people who they are in Christ, we are trying to balance this line between this hyper individualism of knowing who you are in your destiny and that traditional communal and covenantal and commitment style situation where you are a part of the group, you are a part of this marriage, you're a part of the church, you're a part of society, you're part of the community, but now that has dynamic to a place of you're just you.
Right.
But then people feel the tear when that does happen. They're like, well, I'm not just me. My dad's famous line, two become one flesh in all things. And if there ever were such thing as a soul tie, I'm not going to argue that today. But if there ever were such a thing as a soul tie, going back to Sister McFadden's comment, it would be within the context of holy matrimony when you have literally made commitment before God and man and then beseech the Lord 15 different times during the wedding ceremony to bless your marriage and tie you together in unity. And you literally tied a rope around each other's wrists and you poured sand in a bottle and you lit each other's candles and you poked your fingers and did a blood covenant and then you swapped spit. You did all that. So if there was ever a soul tie, marriage would be the soul tie. And so what do you do in this individualistic society, especially, now let's talk the pastoral sense, when you have to walk through a divorce unwillingly, because usually you don't want to.
Right.
And we still feel obligated to try to help people avoid it.
Absolutely.
Now, it used to be there was only one reason, two at most, that you could even entertain
This is good.
the idea of divorce, especially if you came to a preacher. Wait, Janine said, I was happy to divorce my ex. I had a divorce cookout. But that's what people do now.
Not a divorce cookout.
But
and that depends. I think that depends on what reason, what
the situation is.
Absolutely.
Okay, it had to be adultery, infidelity, and often in the church, it had to be repeated. It had to be, just egregious, because even then, church folk were begging folk to stay together. Pressuring. They weren't even begging. They were pressuring, shaming them. Usually the woman, stick with him. You can save the marriage. You can sanctify the marriage. All this other stuff. Then they started adding abandonment. Abandonment, where if a person just leaves another person. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with old school teaching, but old school teaching that if your ex-spouse is still alive, in God's eyes, you're still married to them. Mm-hmm. I've heard that preached.
Yes.
That you can go out and get married if you want to. You still married to the other one. You got two wives. I've heard that.
Yes.
I've heard that. We still got fireworks, man. That's what you're hearing. I hope it's fireworks. By the third day after the fourth, is it fireworks or is it gunshots? Thank God for this new set. But they're serious. They would say, you've got two wives. My father got divorced before he was saved. Adult saved, for real saved. Mm-hmm. There were preachers that were telling me to my face, your father is an adulterer and he's got two wives. How dare he call himself a preacher? Like they would say to my face like it wasn't nothing. That used to be it. Then we finally woke up and started adding abuse. And I call it the AAA reasons for divorce. Adultery, abandonment, and abuse. I still consider those to be the primary causes and acceptable causes to, as a pastor, say, yes, I understand it needs to happen. But what about just we don't get along, we're both miserable, irreconcilable differences?
But let me ask you before we move on to those three or the other things. If somebody came to you and they said, my husband cheated on me, I want to leave, but the husband's like, I want to work this out. How are you counseling that? How are you asking? Are you saying, you know what, y'all can work this out? And we always say that, a tiger can't change his stripes. If he cheated on you once, he might do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do we, say, because I'm going to be honest. When I sat in that courtroom, and the judge asked, how long have y'all been separated? And we both said over a year. And the judge said, he asked my ex, do you want a divorce? And she said no. And although I wanted a divorce, that broke me. Because I'm like, we're sitting here in court. You know what I'm saying? And she's, and when he asked me, and I said,
but can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Was it that she didn't want to be, was it more of not wanting to go through the experience of divorce and the reality of divorce as opposed to just not being.
I think that's a good.
'Cause there's a
people
difference.
don't want that stigma on them. They don't.
And that's why people stayed in marriages,
They
is
stay
because
in- they stay in
I
places-
just don't want to be divorced.
Right.
They probably, if they could divorce you without being divorced, they would.
And I said,
would.
many people stay in a fight they can't win, but refuse to throw in the towel.
A lot of preachers. Okay, keep going.
And I think that's a great point you just made, that we just stay in it just to say we still married. You know, people talk, we got 20 years in. Well, he been cheating on you for 10. Is it really happy?
Listen.
Is it really? Are you really happy with this?
It was a comedian.
You got 12 kids outside the marriage. What?
It was a comedian who said it better than a preacher ever could when he said, how backward is it that we just celebrate things like longevity has anything to do with quality? Oof. Like, we've been married for 50 years. We've been hating each other for 49 and a half of them. You know, not sleeping in the same bed, no real interest, don't like each other, don't even like each other. Make it evident, you know, put each other down in public and all that stuff. And by the way, as much as we talk about young couples and stuff, the main drivers of young people not wanting to be married is old folk who are married and miserable. Old church folk who are married and miserable. When you grew up in church, watching a man and woman talk about how long they've been married and watching them not really want to have anything to do with each other, watching the wife be kinder to everybody else but her husband, watch the husband act like his wife is, you know, the humpback of Notre Dame and everybody else is, you know, Halle Berry and chasing after other folk and flirting and talking. And then we all calling ourselves saved, sanctified, this, that, and the other. And there's a lot of people who grew up in houses and saw this stuff. But to your point of what you said about, like, how would I deal with it? First of all, I try to remove the stigma that once a certain line has been crossed, and it's usually the female, and sometimes it's the male now when it comes to adultery, that they have to stay in anything.
Right.
Because that person's behavior has already broken the bond of marriage.
Right.
If a person has committed adultery, they've broken the bond of marriage. If they've abused you, they've broken the bond of marriage. If they've abandoned you for an extended period of time, they've broken the bond of marriage. Everything else is just legalese. It's just legalese. If they want to go back or want to try to work it out, first of all, they'd have to go into it knowing that there's no 100% guarantee that their desire to want to work it out will have a good result in the future. That just like they have the right to walk away from an adulterer, an abuser, an abandoner, they have the right to come back, and they may very well face it again, no matter how much counseling, talking, and praying happens. Yes. But I'd also make sure that person feels assured that they are not walking in a sin that is laid upon their life. A sin might be present in the marriage and might have created a sinful result, which is divorce, but it doesn't mean that it was laid on you as the cause of it, if you're the sufferer of it. Right. And I think we have to minister that clearly to people.
But I think you also have to minister, even after that, that if you're going to stay and you're absolutely going to try to work it out, because I think oftentimes that is a reoccurring issue. You keep on rewinding the tape. We can be arguing about, and it's gonna come back up. And well, you know you cheated on me. So
I bet you washed her dishes.
It's like, you know, right. At some point you got to press fast forward.
Yeah, but again, that's where professional, skilled, qualified counseling comes in, and we may not be qualified, or we can be qualified but too close.
Yeah.
To do the counseling.
And it's just to answer Scott, I think it depends on the person. You know, if somebody's parents has been married 50 years and that's all they knew is a good mother and a good father and their whole family,
then there's a stigma.
Then there's a stigma. But you know, if
you grew up in a traditional spiritual atmosphere, there's a stigma. Man, Scott just said something kind of important, that there might be a cultural divide on this, and we usually take our racial jokes kind of funny, but although I'm assuming the white old couples he knows are annoyingly happy, and we have some happy. I'm not saying all old couples are not happy, but I'm just saying all I've ever known is mostly older black people.
Right.
And there's a decent fraction that are just old and tolerating each other.
Yeah.
It feels like it. And maybe we don't know, because we're not there yet, what old love feels like. You know, and old love is, you have this bond that has laid down the Hallmark cards and the teddy bears.
Well, we're saying we're not there, but
because we're halfway there, kind of anyway.
I mean, we both 19 years in, right?
We're both 19 years.
We both
deep.
19. That is a long time at this point.
Yeah,
it's a long time to be married.
Oh man, we've gone through 3 marriages in somebody else's world.
Oh yeah,
in 19 years. This is a great one. I'll give you this one to you, and I'll pop in. Marlon asks, heard a preacher say to a woman that was being abused that the only cause for divorce is adultery. The only biblical cause for a divorce is adultery. How would you address that?
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
But it's a very common thing.
It may be common, but it's you listen, these people, they take that "I'll love you to death" real serious. You know, and we telling people to stay, and the next thing you know, you got to do that funeral. I take that very serious. I don't think it's, and I grew up, and so for me, it's very personal.
Jeff has a very personal.
It's very personal.
Very much.
I watched my mother get beat. So no, you don't. And God never asked you to be unhappy.
I don't think it's unhappy. I think it's. I don't think unhappy. I mean, I think abused.
Abused. Yeah.
Abused.
Yeah.
You know, violated. I would say it like this. Unfortunately, there is a whole lot of sisters, devout women, who were taught that that's just what a man is and does. They have had to hide their scars, hide their treatment in church, and they knew they weren't going to get support if they went somebody. And let's be, and can we get real deep on this? And half the time the pressure was not just from some preachers and a man, it was from other women too.
Yeah. There
are some that would go to a woman, and I've heard this. They go to church mothers and say, he's beating on me. Girl, I've been beat on too. Mm-hmm.
But back then, it was about being submissive though too, right?
It was, and we're in a different generation now. And now I don't know how. Again, it goes
back get away from Harper.
Go. Well, all these new wives got CCWs and switchblades and everything else. Right. So I ain't fooling with them. But just in the same way, I asked Pastor Jeff a little earlier about, you know, is it possible for some of you all to feel embittered, like you had this total pariah situation when you got divorced, and now you see people go through it all easy? I do wonder sometimes how older people who were taught to endure things and maybe gave up a lot of their lives enduring, now they see a freedom that they wish they had had.
Yeah.
And that's why some of these older ones are not the ones saying, stick with it. Mm-hmm. Some of them are saying to these young ladies and young gentlemen, oh, I wasted away 40 years of my life. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. You go on ahead and walk away from that baby. First time he put his hands on you, because I lived through it and I stuck with it, and it didn't get no better. He just got old and too tired. You know what I mean? But then I wonder if they wish they could reclaim those years that they sat there and took it and watched themselves be, you know, diminished and demeaned. And again, it was a part to Mike's point. It was a part about there was a different expectation, and we were, I don't want to say it's slave, but in some ways it is. We were taught to endure and stick with a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Abusive spiritual conditions. Preacher talking you down. Every night you're going to hell. Everything's a sin. People controlling your life. You know, the judgment and opinions of others. So again, marriage was an extension of society, and society has been an extension of marriage. And to Dee Dee's point, how dysfunction has been normalized in the church.
Yes, it has.
It is. And it's normalized because we stopped talking like human beings because we have a spiritual context.
Right.
And so we try to pray everything away, prophesy stuff away, shout, or just plain suppress it. Yeah. It doesn't exist. It's not happening. And even if it is happening, God's going to make a way. Just believe. You know how many people who have been cheated on, abused, who have been abandoned? Just trust God, baby. No, go get your own bank account, baby. You know what I'm saying? Get an exit plan, baby. Like nobody's saying like practical stuff to people. And now the tide is turning. And now the new generation of men are getting some of this where they might be cheated on. They might be, as Dr. Wingfield said, mentally and emotionally abused. And they're told now to be the long-suffering spouse.
But there's a flip side to it too, that, you know, we can't just get divorced because she gained a little weight.
Yeah, you can.
You can't.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for next week's sermon.
You can't get just just call divorce because you know what I mean, she's
he got a pot belly.
Yeah.
Or you don't like her or you know your attitude.
It's just not that easy. It's just but society has just made it that easy that you could just, like you said, I mean, I think the solution is like 500. You drive 500, you divorce, you go on, you grab somebody else until they get fat.
I hope Shamika's not watching. But she said, well, what about mental and emotional? And that's true. And thank you, Dr. Wingfield just mentioned that. It's all about physical, which is obviously how are we addressing all forms of abuse and how are we defining abuse in the church? Very, very true. Here's the problem with emotional and mental abuse. And I'm saying in and out of the church is that because it's not visible and because it's more of a matter in some cases, and I can't say for all, I don't know, I'm not qualified, but it feels like it's more abstract and like, and just hear me out. It's religiously incorrect. I'm not an expert on anything, but it feels like when it comes to mental and emotional abuse, it's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are people who could be in and or observing the same types of behaviors or actions taken against someone else or manipulations or what have you, and treat it completely differently and view it completely differently. People can be in a relationship where everybody's talking harsh to each other all the time and they just talk harsh right back and keep on moving, or they just move and keep on moving. There are others who are like, that's abuse. And it's, you know, I'm not saying who's to say like there's no concrete boundaries. There are, but I think that's the struggle all along when it comes to, and that's a whole other conversation we've had with Dr. Dela Cruz before about mental health in the church, mental health and pastors, and emotional health, is that nobody wants to get into the middle, Dee, of, now we might be able to identify very egregious stuff.
Yeah.
But we also live in a world where, and just forgive me, but sometimes it just feels like people just claim that everything is gaslighting and narcissism and emotional abuse. Like if you tell me that there's something you don't like about me, you abuse me. And like, how do you deal with that? Because now how do you tell the person who's making the claim, hey, I think you're overdoing it. Well, who are you to tell me what I feel? And I think preachers are scared.
Oh, absolutely.
Of that.
Absolutely.
And I mean me.
Because
like,
we don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know.
But I also don't want to get on this train of accusation. And in what way is there to tell a person that their feelings might be wrong feelings?
It's a very scary point.
Not to say we can't agree and say that they're right feelings. We can look at a whole lot of stuff and say, oh, now that you described to me what's happening and how it makes you feel and how many times you've told him or her that how that affects you, what it's doing to you, how it's, you know, disrupting your life, how it's disorienting your mind. I can see to it. Let's work on it. But what happens when you talk to the other spouse and this has happened, and we don't need to reveal too much about context, but it has happened. They're saying somebody will, the female might come in and say, he said this. And the guy might just come in and say, all I did was come home and ask, are you going to cook today? I've had those experiences.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, well, what do I do with that? Because I don't live in a house. I don't have cameras to watch.
The glass half full.
Yeah.
And we see things one way. You know, women are from Venus, men are from Mars. You know what I mean? And you can try to, you know, say this and say
and
that.
We're supposed to be the arbiter between it.
And it's very difficult.
And here's the crazy thing. They don't even want us to use our expertise that most of us don't have. Once again, we've said that multiple times. Here's what they want us to do. They want us to discern.
Yeah.
They want the Holy Ghost to tell us. And I'm just saying how we feel behind that desk. Yeah, the pastor's desk. I mean, not the sacred desk in the pulpit. I'm talking like they want to tell us a story, hear the other side, and then like my expertise is not at play here at this point. They want me to discern by the Holy Spirit.
You know what they want? You know what they want?
What?
They want us to verify their divorce.
Validate the feelings, period.
Validate the divorce. Say it's okay to leave.
Yeah.
A lot of times they want to say it's okay.
In some cases. How much do I have to tell you?
Right.
How much do I have to tell you about my misery and the way I feel? And some people will not own their part. And here's how I know. Because there are some people who have gotten divorced and they're still talking and living the same way.
Yep.
And they've attached it to the next person, or now it's their friends. Now it's their family members don't appreciate me. Now my children are emotionally abusive to me. And so I'm not saying that it cannot be that it comes from multiple sides. I'm saying that sometimes there's a more complicated factor that we're underqualified to deal with. And we live in a very cerebral and abstract world that is just so hard to tackle and wrap our minds around. And I'll say this religiously incorrect, and our Bibles around.
Right. Rosalind said menopause could be a factor. Well, if we go back to the Bible, y'all should be out in
the tent somewhere.
y'all should be saying unclean.
Get out in the tent of uncleanliness for the next week.
Stay away from us for that week.
I be slopping communion out of people's hands. You can't take that.
When I come to the bedroom, just say unclean. I'm gonna go to the basement.
Right.
Then we ain't gonna argue.
But I mean, this is not an issue that's going away.
It's not.
And I wish we had more. And I'll tell you what, man. One thing I'll tell you is that all these conferences and conventions and classes we attend, this is the kind of stuff we need to sit down and listen to our pastor peers and mentors and fathers and mothers in the gospel talk about and tell us real stories. I could tell you the story about one individual that, I dealt with a situation where a person had an infidelity situation in a marriage with a third person in the church. And they were able to salvage the marriage. And the extra person was mad that they salvaged the marriage. Absolutely. And almost wanted me to intervene and tell the wife, no, you should leave. Mm-hmm. But they were willing to work it out. But that person, and I'm toxic in their eyes because I didn't help them get the justice they felt they deserved. And the justice they felt that man deserved was that he should have as miserable as a life as she's about to have because she has to carry
Can I say this online? God is not telling you that wife's husband is your husband.
Oh, man.
Can I say that?
That's not your husband.
That is not your husband.
That's their husband. I don't care if they hate each other. And he says that he don't love her.
And
still
please stop telling all your girlfriends your issues because 90% of the time, you are training your replacement.
And can I add on to that? A third wheel is a third wheel, and I'm gonna treat you like one as a pastor too. Woo. My job is to protect the marriage and the sanctity and try to repair the sanctity of marriage, not make the jump off feel justified.
That's it.
Because they'll run off with the story and say, and literally, I went through this. I'll talk about it. I don't care. The pastor protected. No, I protect. My job is to minister to the marriage that was violated.
Yes.
That was my job. As long as there was, as we said, do they want to work it out? If they want to work it out. So my job then is to minister to the marriage that represents God covenant.
Absolutely.
The marriage is the reflection of Jesus Christ loving the church. The marriage is what holds society together.
Come on, sir.
Not your feeling of justice and just desserts for someone that did do wrong with you, but you allow them to do wrong with you, and now you want what could be repaired to be forever dismembered on behalf of you. That's not my job. And I had to live with that. And if people walked out and talked about me, I said, hey, if God brought them together and they want God to help them stay together, it is not my job to help you. I'm about to get in real big trouble now and your kids. Break that.
They already had stepdaddy.
Break that up.
I already had stepdaddy in mine.
Well, it might have been a kid made out of it.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you created a whole world was created, but the marriage is still the marriage.
Yeah.
As long as it's a marriage.
Yeah.
It never becomes less than a marriage until it's no longer a marriage.
Absolutely.
And so that's what people forget, is that in these difficult situations, our job is to try to the very best of our ability not to make a joke out of marriage, not to give a free pass to anybody, not to say it's okay to do any wrong, because it's not okay to do any wrong for anybody. But if grace exists in our lives, it exists in marriage, and if they're able to work that grace out, then my job is to help that along.
I love it.
Not to help somebody else feel better about, we're all broke now. Nope, just you.
And with that, my God, listen, his Cash App is.
My Cash App is Pastor Todd Johnson with 2
killed
Ds.
that one, Doc. Yes, sir.
But that's the kind of stuff pastors go through. You'd be surprised at how much we are pressured to punish people on behalf of others.
My God. Wow.
You'd be surprised how often we are pressured to punish people on behalf of others. And so we have a lot from trying to salvage divorce and hope that we're doing it the right way and not. Because, hey, who wants to be the one if that sister who was abused says she wants to work it out and the man makes a promise? No pastor wants to be the one to get a phone call and find out he did it again into a fatal... I'm sorry, now I'm talking about...
Go ahead. Yeah, he said.
Next.
No pastor. Now I'm doing. I can't stay with the joke because I was going somewhere with this. No pastor wants to be the one that might have helped salvage a marriage just for it to result in something devastating.
Right. Absolutely.
So we're not here just trying to send a woman back, not in 2024,
Right.
so that we can see her in a casket.
That's it. That's it.
We're not trying to send somebody back when adultery occurred so they can have an STD.
Amen.
And when we sit down and have that conversation, the stuff we got to say to people, bruh, are you willing to get tested?
That's it. That's it. That is absolutely
The kind of conversations we're having in 2024, y'all wasn't trying to have in 1974. But we have to, because it's our responsibility and obligation. Pastors are, what do they call it? Reporters, obligated reporters. When it comes to abuse, if I find out,
if you stick and stay, every time that baby come over,
correct,
it's gonna remind you of the infidelity.
That's it. Are you willing to live with this? Are you able to live with that?
Absolutely.
Can you trust the person you're with, and all of those things? And so there are so many heavy, and that's why marriage is supposed to be. It is honorable by God, made honorable, because we're supposed to treat it in an honorable fashion. And pastor's church's job is to help it. Mandated, thank you. I kept getting the word wrong. Mandated reporter. So if we find out about child abuse, we got to say something.
Absolutely.
If we know that dude you're with's got a record and he's already touched somebody else's child, but you love him and he'll never do that to you. Mm-hmm. You know, and you can call it judgment all you want. I don't want that blood on my hands.
Absolutely.
And so the conversation never ends, but this experience is ever evolving too. Amen. And so, Pastor Jeff, I know you've been through it and you have a unique perspective. So many of you shared so much great stuff. Thank you for hanging out.
Thank
a little
you so
later.
Much.
But, we might have to continue this conversation in a different vein and talk about different aspects of it because it is tough. And I'll just finish with this and let anybody else that has comments. But on Big Mike, I don't know if your mic's on right now or what you got. We'll figure it out. We cut Big Mike's. We did a debate with Big Mike. We muted his mic. You can't talk like Trump and Biden. Here's what I'll say. Divorce is difficult for everybody. And I've been through accused of mishandling if somebody was going through a divorce and you didn't treat. There is no easy way or beautiful way to deal with such an ugly occurrence in society and in life and in marriage. And it's never as bad for the people involved, but it's bad for everybody. Church, society, community, friendships. We've watched this happen with friendships, the pastor-member relationships, how do you treat people? How do they expect to be treated? How do you deal with the awkwardness? How do you help them plant spiritually because you're still concerned about their souls? You got divorced folk going to the same church.
It is so hard. It is hard. And then as a friend, who do you know what I mean? Right. Your friend don't want you talking to the ex, and the ex don't want you talking to your friend.
Y'all get divorced, find a new church. I mean,
yeah, if they divorce me, they divorce the whole family, all that stuff.
They divorce the church.
Yes.
Who gets the choir robe? who gets custody of the choir robe? All right, Pastor Jeff, final words.
Man, this was a great show, man. It was a great show. Just real quick, I heard a story of a young lady who was being abused. Husband dogging her out mentally dogging her out.
Wow.
Had all his boys over for the game. She was just dogging them, go upstairs, get us a beer, go upstairs, do this, do that. And one of the men just, didn't sit right with him. And, as they was all leaving and going out, he's still telling her, make sure you clean all this stuff up. The friend said, man, you got a good wife, man. Why do you treat her like that? I guess that night he came up to her and said, I treat you like dirt. Why do you love me the way you do? And she said, I figured this is the only heaven you ever gonna get to. So I might as well make it good.
Wow.
And I just think we have to look at that. And I still am not a person that says stay. If somebody is abusing you, especially physically.
Put all of it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Get out. It's okay to leave.
Yeah.
It's okay to leave.
Marlon said his ex-wife went to his church and he never passed her communion. That's cold.
We gotta go.
That's
we
cold.
Gotta go.
That's cold.
Never passed her communion. You don't deserve the blood. You don't deserve the blood nor the body.
You don't deserve. If you don't want my body, you can't have his blood. Hey, y'all, thank you for watching. We'll be out with a fresh episode next week, man. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out until next time.